Hey, it's Adewale here from StressTherapist.net, and today you're going to learn the number one reason why everyone struggling with negative emotions should become a master of balance. Because almost everybody gets this wrong. You see, when it comes to dealing with difficult emotions, one of the biggest keys is finding the right balance in the things you do. Because so many people try to overcome their emotional problems by becoming obsessed with achieving some change or by achieving some goal. And this causes them to lose sight of what is truly important. They forget that life is about the journey and not the destination. And during the journey, you've got to make a lot of turns. So by focusing just on the destination, you increase the chances that you will miss your turnings. You will take the wrong turnings, which then means that you'll never arrive at your destination. But what does this analogy, what does it all have to do with this idea of balance? You see, like most people, the path we take in life is determined by our foundational experiences. And this was the case with a client of mine called Greg. See, as a child, Greg had a lot of behavioral differences that made him stand out. And this caused him to get ostracized, caused him to get bullied, name calling, and it was just a big struggle. And as a result of that, he developed strategies to cope. He developed a tendency to appear happy, jovial, and jokey, because he realized that this made the kids laugh and get attracted to him. He developed a tendency to remain calm, to try to not let things get to him so easily. He also developed that tendency to just be a decent person who people just like being around. Because, see, in his mind, he believed that if he could become the best version of himself, then all the inborn behavioral differences that caused him to struggle a lot would no longer have any negative impact on his life again. As such, this became his sole focus and his destination in life. But as Greg became older, he started struggling with depression, started struggling with stress and anxiety. No matter how hard he tried to be better, he just felt frustrated. Things that other people would consider to be minor irritations just felt became massive frustrations to him. His low moments became intense with strong feelings of restlessness and helplessness. He became anxious due to this fear that depression is going to come back again, because he just kept failing. He felt like he was failing at managing depression, and so he would be worried that he would get depressed all over again. So Greg couldn't understand why the strategies that were working well for him before, why they were not working anymore. And so in therapy, we discovered that in his efforts to remain that best version of himself, Greg was leaning way too much, relying way too much on his coping strategies. And sadly, that was pushing him out of balance. Those same coping strategies, although they were good things, they now become the root causes of his problems. So, for example, that happy, calm tendency he developed caused him to avoid real problems in life, which then made the problems to pile up and become even more problematic for him, overwhelming him. And that attempt to be that decent person that everybody can be around overloaded him with too much self-criticism, because it made him see things about himself that he disliked about himself. So we introduce this concept of balance to Greg. And for him to achieve that balance, all he had to do was to reduce reliance on those coping strategies that were causing him problems. And the result was that he started seeing himself coping better. He just noticed that the problems in his life started to reduce. He wasn't feeling so low in himself anymore. He felt like he could control his life again. He had some control in his life again. And he started feeling less anxious, because he noticed that even if things did go wrong, he had the ability to kind of start coping better. And even if he struggled to resolve the problems, he wasn't getting so overwhelmed with his emotions anymore. So essentially, Greg was able to achieve and maintain a positive mental state. And all it took to achieve this was to bring balance back into his life. Now, relating this back to you, if you struggle with any emotional difficulty, any mental health problem that just keeps coming back and keep coming back, there's a high chance that this is because you are relying on something that is killing you, pushing you out of balance, something that perhaps worked well for you. Maybe some time in your life when you were struggling, could be childhood, could be in a relationship, could be an experience at school that caused you to develop a certain way of coping just to get through that situation. And whilst those strategies worked at that time, at this point in your life, relying on those strategies too much is causing problems for you. So essentially, you've got to, one, figure out what things in your life you are leaning too much on that's pushing you out of balance. And two, then figure out how to reduce reliance on that thing in a safe way. Because what we're not, just like with Greg, we're not necessarily trying to get him to not use those strategies at all, to throw them all away. No, because those strategies were still helpful and they were still useful. So what we're trying to do is kind of create a balance by reducing reliance on them. So in the same way, we're not asking you to get rid of those strategies completely. What we're just trying to say is, when you rely too much on those strategies, it's causing you problems. Balance them out, you start noticing yourself cope better. It's a very strange thing that happens, and this is one of the reasons why mental health can be very difficult to overcome, because it's counterintuitive. Okay, so essentially, if you can do this, once you can do this, you start realizing, and you'll be surprised at how easy those mental health or those emotional health problems that felt so impossible to manage before will suddenly become easier to manage, and you find yourself breaking free of a lot of problems that you thought were, that perhaps made you feel like a prisoner in your own life before. Right. So now, if you need some help, some practical help to figure out how to just put all of this into practice in your situation, you can get my free PDF guide on how to stop re-victimizing yourself. Now, I say re-victimizing yourself because that's what's happening here. Although you have no intention of hurting yourself or making yourself struggle, but by relying on those strategies, what you're actually doing is re-victimizing yourself over and over. Right, so if you get that PDF, I show you the steps for creating balance, like I've explained here, or I've gone in more depth in that PDF. So just head over to stresstherapist.net/wellness. So that is www.stresstherapist.net/wellness, and I'm sure this will give you a very good insight into how you can start to implement balance in your life today. Thank you.